The following presentation is rated TVMA.
Hi.
Hey. Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. I'm good as well. Welcome to another episode of Slots for Smut.
Yes. Welcome.
Episode number 5.
5. We have done 5 episodes. Well, 4 successfully. We're on our 5th one. Woo.
Yeah.
That means we are on our 5th book.
Yes. New series.
Yeah.
New series.
We will be talking about the Shadow Kiss series, which coincidentally the first book is called
Shadow Kissed. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
By Rebecca L. Garcia.
Yes. Welcome to all of our fans. Slut
fans.
puppies.
Hello.
Hello, slut puppies. Well, where do we want to start?
So this book, it is a fan suggestion.
Yes. I hope this fan is watching because we are doing this for you.
Right? I mean, Amanda better be watching. If not now, she better watch later because I know she works late. So, one way or the other, she better see this. It wasn't bad.
Mm-mm.
It is a well-written book.
It's not that spicy.
It's not as smutty as we I don't think anything that we could read is going to be as smutty as The Never King, but it's okay. It's okay. It is still a well-written book.
I agree.
Yeah. It is in stark contrast to the Never King series.
It is. It's like
stark contrast to Never King.
Yeah.
So,
complete 180.
That's all right. I actually really enjoyed the book. I really liked it.
There wasn't
no smut. No smut.
Minuscule.
Minuscule. We have decided we are going to start a smut meter.
Oh, we're gonna call that spicy meter.
Spicy meter. And at this point, it would be like a 1.5.
Yeah.
Maybe?
That half's given it a lot of credit.
Yeah. Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe a half a one, not even a 1.5. Not even a. How about a 0.5 on the spice? But that is okay. That is okay.
It's okay. I'm sure
Okay.
you get there.
So let's give a synopsis of the book.
Okay.
Who wants to go?
Do we want to do a synopsis or we just want to go full blown like through the fucking book?
Let's just go through the book.
Okay.
Okay.
So we begin with Sebastian, who will become one of our main characters.
Yep. He is the hero.
We're gonna call him a hero already.
I mean, every book has a hero and a heroine.
Yeah.
It's
We're gonna start with Sebastian on a trek to. I guess this kind of gives into like the thing is he's trying to get his mortality back. He wants to become human again because the book is about vampires.
Right.
The Walking Dead.
Or are they? Apparently, according in this thing, they are not. They're dead, but they're
right.
not dead.
They're not dead.
Right.
They have a heartbeat.
They die to come back as a vampire.
Immortal.
They don't eat food, but they have a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're not cold-blooded.
Right?
No.
And they're not cold-blooded.
Yes, Tracy, it's about vampires.
Yes, if you had read it in your hot tub, you would know this. Come on now.
Come on.
Come on, Tracy.
You should know this already. So Sebastian. And then there is Olivia.
Yes.
The heroine of the story. Or the poor little me that needs to be saved for the most part. She's really a very I want to say beaten down kind of person.
Well, okay, so also she's a sorceress. She's not just human.
Right.
She has magic. But she can't really
access. Yes, she is a sorceress.
She can't really access her magic, but she's an empath, so she can do feelings and
yeah, she can feel other people's emotions and she can control other people's emotions. So she's like, and I hate to do this, ladies. I'm so sorry. It's the only way I can like relate it to our audience. But for those of you who have seen Twilight, she is like Jasper.
B-rated
Jasper? Yes, Jasper from Twilight, where he could like alter Bella's emotions, where she was like, no, I don't really want a party. Okay, sure, I'll be there. And that's kind of what Olivia can do. If she lets down her walls, because she's built walls to protect herself. If she lets down her walls, she can feel your anger, your hurt, your pain, whatever you're feeling. And if she touches you, because at this point she has to touch you, she can pull that pain or that anger away from you so you don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's her extra power at this point in the book.
And in the beginning of the book, what you learn is that she's a part of a guild of humans who are essentially trying to protect the people that don't know about this other world from the world of the vampires. They kind of are the barrier between the vampires and the humans. And she is a sorceress, but she says very early on in the book that she is a bad sorceress. She doesn't know how to use her powers. She's not very good at it. And she's kind of been tucked away in a corner because she's not able to use her powers because she's never been able to figure it out. Her mom is a very good sorceress and kind of a badass. So you learn that in the beginning as well.
And we also find out in the beginning that Sebastian, along with looking for his mortality, finds out that there's a girl who can help him receive his mortality.
By stealing from the king of the vampires
By
the elixir that he needs.
Mhm. Mom didn't teach her.
The mom tried to teach her.
She,
but she, for some reason, has this, I don't know if it's a mental block or if it's like if it's just a block, she can't access her powers, like her abilities. There's just, every time she goes to reach it, it just kind of fizzles out. So it's like she goes to spark and it just kind of goes and nothing happens. They tried to teach her how to use her sorcery. They tried to teach her how to be a badass and do, the fighting and the sword fighting and all that shit. And she just sucks. She just sucks.
Yeah. And then she fell into a really bad depression after the death of her fiance. I believe they were engaged.
Yes, Asher. They were promised.
That's right. She had a promise ring.
She had a promise ring.
And he committed suicide. Or at least, that was what everybody was saying. He, killed himself, and she was really struggling with it in the beginning of the book. You kind of hear her talk about it. And she's in this depressive funk where she just can't seem to find her way because she was so enmeshed with this other character that we have yet to learn about, that she just can't seem to pull herself out. She's not eating. She's not really drinking. She's not sleeping well. Mom is trying to get her to take better care of herself. Her best friend is trying to get her to take better care of herself. Best friend is Draven. And he is also a guard with the same guild. Group of people, with the guild. And they seem to have a really good relationship in the beginning of the book. So he is one of the main characters in the beginning as well. They make a pill for that. They do. They make many pills for that.
Yeah.
So the mom ends up leaving the house where the daughter is basically locked up.
Because there has been an influx of
vampire attacks. She's the big baddie ass, so she goes to fight.
Yeah.
Pow pow, shank shank. And Draven is there with her and stuff, and she falls asleep, and she's been seeing things. She's been seeing vampires in her dreams. And he wakes her up from one of these dreams to tell her, hey, we got to go. They're on their way here. We got to get you out. Vampires are attacking us. Let's go. And they rush to the guild where they're going to be safe. But they're not. Because the vampires get into the guild, which is supposed to be an uber safe place, but they get in and they kill pretty much everybody. But Draven gets her just out of the building, and then he is captured by a vampire and flown away.
Yeah.
And he tells her to run. Yep. Flown away. Now keep that in mind, guys, because these vampires don't turn into bats.
No, they have fucking wings.
Yeah. They have wings, like wings. I don't know. Wings. So he is flown away and he tells her to run. So she deuce, takes off running. And then she gets caught by somebody. And that somebody is Sebastian. And he flies her off. And of course, now she's like, oh shit. I've been caught by a vampire. And I'm hundreds of miles into the air. And then she wakes up in an old-fashioned house. Because for some reason, what is the town called? What is the town called, y'all? The town is called
Valoria? Or were they...
The vampires' world is still very old school, very, minimal cars. They have, the old 4-poster beds with the whole, think 1800s up, old school. whereas everything else has cell phones and lights and new, and it's cool, and it's, you know, it's
San Morte.
San Morte. This.
San Morte.
So San Morte is old fashioned, and Baldor is new wave with the electricity, and it's today's thing. So she wakes up in
Sebastian's living room.
Yeah. And she sees the silver-haired dude,
Zach.
Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Zach. He just seems to be an ass throughout the whole movie, or the book so far.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Right? He's just that standoffish kind of like, you're beneath me kind of. And I'm sure that it's because he's afraid of they got wings, forget the cars. Exactly. It's like it's I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure it's just him trying to protect himself and what he considers his family, which is Zach, and we will find out later on is also a wonderful person, my favorite character, Ariana. But it's like he's just an ass. Oh,
Yeah.
and his girlfriend Anna, who is a mortal.
Yeah, willingly there.
Yep.
Willingly there.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, you know, like, it's just weird. But so he's just an ass. But
And of course, we know that the only reason that he kidnapped her.
is for the elixir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because she somehow, we will find later on that she has some way that she's going to help him get it from the king.
Because she's the only one that can. That's what
Yeah.
he's told. She's the only one that can.
Right.
Now, the arch nemesis of Sebastian and everybody else is the Nightshade Guild,
Mm-hmm.
crew, gang, murderous bunch of people. I don't know what you would call them. Anyway, the Nightshades, who are vampires, who are, you know, I mean, they are cutthroat. They are, I will eat you until you are dead kind of vampires.
Yeah.
The leader of the Nightshade is the one who actually brought Sebastian into vampirism. And you find out later on in the book that he was a farm boy man. We don't know his age, y'all. It does not say how old he is. All it says is that he's a 3-year-old vampire, as in he was turned 3 years ago. It does not ever tell you his age. It tells you a roundabout figure for Zach. It tells you a roundabout figure for Ariana. It never once mentions this. It never once mentions Sebastian's age.
Because it said either one of them, they're over like 100 years old.
Yeah, like one. I think Ariana turned 80 years ago. Or
I think that's like 150 or
Yep.
some shit.
Yeah, so it gives you like
He's a baby vamp.
he's a baby vamp.
He's a little guy.
So you find out that he fought to save his brothers. And when he woke back up, there were literally body parts strewn from the house to the lake, and they were all his brothers. And then Valeria? I mean, what kind of a name is that?
Vera.
Vera? Is that her name?
Vera Veda.
Veda.
Because it reminds me of Darth Vader.
Vader. Yeah. I mean, still, it's what kind of a name is that for a vampire evil person, but whatever.
She's like 800 years old.
I don't care how old you are. Have a good name. Change it at some point.
Not with this comment, Lindsay. I
This
can't.
is a one pepper book.
I can't with you, Lindsay.
One pepper book.
Yeah, it was a one pepper book. I mean, even the spicy scene wasn't that. I mean, maybe
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
No,
I mean,
it really
wasn't.
And it was also like at the end.
Yeah, right. It was at
It's
the end.
at the very end.
So you find out about not Zach. You find out about Sebastian, and he is trying not to tell her why he wants her, but in the end, he ends up having to tell her. Now, at some point, he has guests over, and he has taken her out on the town, and life is great, and they do their thing, and she's looking for Draven, who's been kidnapped. She makes it back safely, and then the next night he has guests, and she's walking back into the house, and who should show up but the same asshole she saw the night before, Asher, her dead fiance.
I think it's Astor.
Huh?
Astor.
Astor?
Yeah, Astor.
I like asshole better, but that's whatever. You guys prefer his name,
Right?
Astor. Cool.
Really?
Especially because, so they're going out in the town and they're looking for Draven.
Right.
And one of the places they look is in this blood den. And blood dens are the places where they take the mortals that they steal from the mortal world and bring them into their town, and it's where the vampires feed. So these blood dens are wretched places. And
blood.
she goes into the blood den, and she's looking through this blood den trying to find Draven, and she goes into this room and she finds Astor. And this is when she realizes that his death was a farce, and he lied to her in order to keep himself alive. Now,
but he was also dying.
Right. The only thing that I haven't been able to figure out yet is what the hell was he dying from?
I don't know yet.
Unless it says like in the later books, but
we haven't been able to figure that out.
It doesn't give you no idea. Like, he was apparently dying and he wanted to live, so he
jumped off a
decided
cliff
to turn himself and became a vampire. And she'll never understand the reason why.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't understand the reason why either. I mean, to sit there and grieve over somebody that you had intertwined your life with so intricately, mainly because he's a narcissistic jackass that just, wants everything for himself. But that's beside the point. My bad, I digress. To grieve over somebody like that, only to find out that they turned into the one thing that you've been told your whole life to avoid as a sorcerer or sorceress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, to realize in this process that the only way the Nightshade could have gotten into the temple or the guild house is to have been told. And the only person that could have told them is your not dead person that you loved and grieved for. I'm sorry. His name is Asshole. It's not Astor. It's Asshole.
Sold him out.
I mean, that's how I read it from that point on, from the moment he showed up at the house. Like, okay, when he was at the
she saw him in the blood den first.
I know when she saw him at the blood den.
But when he showed up to the house and was like, "I love you."
Yeah, when I could still see maybe he didn't want to die. But when I started putting two and two together with her, and that's kind of how I did it, is I started putting two and two together with her. And when Sebastian helped her put those two and two together, that's when I was just like, this motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
I felt all of her emotions all at the same time. Like, the fuck? How could he all of those friends, all of those family members that they lost because he didn't want to die?
Right.
I would use the cane of Caesar, whatever it's called, on him first.
I know.
On him first. I mean, I would take out my other enemies as I go, but on him first.
Yeah.
Asshole has to die. Gotta die.
Hopefully he does. Fingers crossed. It is fucked up, Tracy.
It is.
Fucked up.
It is.
It's really fucked up. And that just, girl, I had to put my book down. I had to walk away. because I was just like,
Right. And so this is also the point in the book where Olivia realizes that she's got to play the game. She's not going to be able to escape. She can't get out of there on her own. So she starts to play nice with the vampires.
yes,
especially
this is
Ariana.
where she kind of goes from
Yeah.
the poor pitiful me kind of I need to be saved person to the if I'm going to get out of this, I have to save myself person. No, she didn't like asshole either. I mean, Aster. At that point, she was really pissed off at him. And as the book goes on, she gets even more pissed off at him, which
Yes.
she has every right to.
Yo, listen, if she kills him in one of them books, I'm gonna be like,
yeah,
right?
yes.
Right there with you. Right there with you, Kitty. But yeah, so this is the point in the book where she really does turn from that I need to be saved to fuck this. If I'm gonna get out, I gotta save myself. And she starts playing nice with Sebastian, which is almost impossible because that man's deadpan, just kind of sarcastic, snarky responses to her. I love them, by the way. They're so funny.
I do too.
Like he's just
So
floating
great.
the whole book. You know, she tries so hard. And then enters my favorite person, Ariana. She's great. I love her.
She is super great.
I do.
And
I
so-
love Ari.
Right? Ari's great. I just love her. So Ari is like their sister, like his and Zach's sister. But
She's
she
a
is
badass bitch, is what she is.
Yes, she is.
her armor, her hair.
With her little dagger that'll kill anybody.
Yes.
Right?
Love. And she is a warrior of the king of vampires.
Santa Muerte.
So like, and his name is
Oh my god, we were talking about it earlier.
I know we're horrible at these names, y'all. We gotta
Sargon.
Sargon.
Is it Sargon?
They're like normal
Yeah.
kind of names, but the way most of them are spelled, like the only ones that are really normal are like Aster, Olivia. You know, I mean, even Ariana is spelled differently.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're sucking at these names.
See, and the worst part about it is I should have the added bonus because I listened to the audiobook, but I have a horrible memory for names.
Come on, Nixie.
Come on, Nixie.
I should have wrote them down. I'm sorry.
You're supposed to be a girl. But anyway,
Try.
so as I was saying, when she's coming in from talking to asshole, she gets kidnapped by another vampire, and she gets eaten, she gets bitten by this vampire who realizes that she's a sorceress because she doesn't have her bracelet on. So she gets taken to one of the blood auctions and she gets auctioned off, and she gets sold to another vampire who decides he's going to SA her. We'll keep it, somewhat, so he decides he's going to SA her while he bites her, but she gets away by doing the, what girls do to guys type of thing, kicking him in the nards, runs away, and Sebastian's there. Sebastian goes in and he's looking at this guy and he's like, you, and he's like, you, and they start talking back and forth, and he's like, well, you can't take her unless she's your property, or you guys are blah blah blah, and we both know you're never going to get married. And she comes up, and of course, foot in mouth, we're engaged. And this is where we find out that for vampires, engagements, marriage is like until death do us part.
Yeah.
And they're vampires.
No backing out.
Like, until death do you part, you're a vampire. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Did we skip the whole lake thing? We skipped the whole lake thing.
Have we gotten to the lake thing? We have not gone to the lake thing.
I
They
thought
haven't gone to the castle yet.
We've passed that.
Nope.
Did we pass it?
Nope. That's after he gets her out of the blood den. Or out
That's
of
what
the
I was thinking. That's
auction.
next.
Was
Yeah,
it?
it's the next scene.
No, I think she's
so.
right. I think it was just before that. But either which way, we have to go to a commercial break.
We do. We'll
We
be right
do
back.
indeed.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Coffee's good.
I gotta have some of that.
Coffee is good.
And we're all gonna, each of our shows on Hellfire are gonna have our own coffee soon.
Yes, I cannot
know,
wait
I'm
for
so
our
excited.
Slut coffee. And I really want to try the so I want to try the Sluts for Smut, and I want to try the Chronic Sports one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
That one's gonna be interesting. I'm sure Buzzkill Cinema is gonna be good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that one's gonna be really good. But those are the two those are the ones that I really want to try.
I'm sure they'll all be good though.
They're gonna be great. You know that. I mean, come on. All of our shows are great. All of our coffees are gonna be amazing.
Right.
Those are the two I want to try first. So yes, you are correct. We missed the I can't remember the name of it now. So they believe in multiple gods and goddesses, not just like one god, one god. It's multiple gods and goddesses. And the empires were cursed. And because like the goddess of the underworld fell in love with a mortal, she wanted to keep him. So she turned him into an immortal, but he fell in love with his soulmate, who is a mortal, and she got mad, so she turned him into a vampire. So he turned his wife into a vampire, but then she died. And so the goddess was like, oh ho ho, you're gonna join me in the underworld soon. And he was like, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna stay alive forever, and you're just gonna have to do without me. And so he started creating other vampires. And so that is how the vampire race came about. But they have a lake, which is the birthplace of one of the gods.
Lavinius.
What?
Lavinius.
Lavinius, yes. So they have a lake that is a birthplace of Lavinius. It's Lavinius's lake. Try saying that 10 times fast. Lavinius's lake.
Lavinius is also the god of shadows.
Yes, but he is also the god that Olivia worships of all of the gods. So to help her get in touch with her magic, Sebastian takes her swimming there. And then one of Kitty's favorite parts is coming up, Miss Kitty.
So he just swim around, tries to get her to connect with the powers of Lavinius, I guess you would say. And she's like, no, you don't, I suck. And he's like, you don't have the confidence. Like, you need to have the confidence for this. It's like the lake won't make you do what you want to do unless you believe in yourself. And then it's all about, where's that freaking quote at? Where did it go? But he also tells her that with all the issues and stuff that she's having with her family and stuff, he's like, you can't fix something unless it's brought out into the open. And people usually shy away from the ugly side of nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't find it.
So then we have the auction and the blood and the blah, 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 and now they're engaged. And so that means they have to go to the castle. So that means that Sebastian no longer has the option of lying to her.
Yeah.
Right. Now she's going to find out the truth.
Now she's going to find out the truth. And the truth is
I found it. I found it.
Okay, go for it. What is it?
Okay, no. So he's like getting her. They're in there, and he's trying to get her like to feel the magic, right?
Feel the magic.
And he's like, feel the currents in the water.
Trying to make her feel.
Imagine they are a part of you. And then it says, truthfully, I had no idea what I was talking about. And as soon as I read it, I was like, how I LOL.
And I will get to mine. I think we passed my spot where my favorite quote is, but I'll get to mine later. So now she has to find out the truth. And the truth is, she is not just a sorceress. She is also part vampire. So she has a sorceress mother and a vampire father. Because apparently that's the only way that vampires can procreate is with a sorceress.
Right.
Why? It's the magic in their blood. I don't know. Whatever. They get to have all of the sex and none of the consequences unless it's with a sorcerer or sorceress. But not only does she have vampire blood in her.
What kind of vampire blood is that?
From the original vampire line that was chosen to rule all of San Morte. And she is the princess of San Morte.
And rightful heir to the throne.
And rightful
she
heir
is
to the throne.
She is the missing princess.
So
she
her mother
finds out in
ran away when they were young because her dad wanted her to turn into a vampire at 21, and she was never going to have a life. She was never going to be able to live in the freedom and do what she got to do. Not that she really got to do much, because I mean, they pushed her to use her magic, and you know, when she found asked her, and I mean, she didn't really.
Her mom literally kept her prisoner because she didn't want her dad to find her.
Right? So what's the difference between keeping you a prisoner in your own home in San Morte and growing up to know that world, and keeping you a prisoner in your own home in Balmore, Balder, whatever, that one. And
yes, yes, Tracy, it is.
You know, I mean, she didn't know her father. She didn't get a life. She only knew the guild, who apparently all knew about who her father was. Everybody in the world knew who her father was, but her.
Yep.
Right.
So not only were they keeping her hostage, not only was Aster and Draven and her mom, you know, sticking by her side like glue and claustering her and keeping her, you know, in this protective little bubble, but they were lying to her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me even madder at Aster, because he could have fucking told her. But anyway.
Right. And the other piece of that too is that when the king found out that he was going to have an heir, when he found out that her mom was pregnant and that there was a baby on the way, he became super paranoid that someone was going to try and take them away from him. So not only was he going to try and turn her, the child at 21, he was also trying to turn her mother. And that was a huge sticking point for mom, because mom didn't want to lose her sorcery powers, because once you're shadow kissed, that's the name of the book, you are no longer able to use your magic. The sorceresses lose their powers by becoming vampires. They can't have both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another antagonizing factor as to why mom took off with her and ran into, you know, the mortal realm with her.
And one of the main reasons, when she finds out that to become queen, because that's their plan, is she's going to become the queen. She's going to get the elixir that, because every monarch or matriarch, whoever takes over the throne, gets an elixir to become mortal again, should they choose. She's going to become queen. She's going to get the elixir, and then she's going to give the elixir to Sebastian.
That's what he thinks.
That's what he thinks. That's what his plan is. But if she does that, she loses
her mortality and her power.
Her mortality, but she also loses the power, the magic that he has now put her in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a slap in the face. Like, I'm going to hug you in this lake, and I'm going to teach you how to connect with your magic. to turn you into a vampire and make you lose it.
Right. Because I don't want to be a vampire anymore. I want to be immortal.
Right.
That's why
Makes sense.
I kind of like when people, because like a lot of books that I read growing up, like they didn't do the split point of view. The only time I ever really got that was like when I read fan fiction on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But now they actually do it in books, and so you get both sides of it. So it's like, oh, you read it from his point of view, you're like, well, you know what he's up to, and then you read it from her point of view, and she's like, oh, Sebastian. And then you're over here like, don't do that shit. Don't give him goo eyes.
But they are giving each
Deserve
other
it.
goo eyes.
They are.
Yes.
They were giving each other goo eyes.
They were giving each other goo eyes. So now they have to go to the castle to meet good old dad, but they're going to hide who she is. But they don't stop to think that the person in charge of the Nightshade, not the leader, but the person in charge of the Nightshade, who happens to be the king's brother, sent the Nightshade after her, so they know her mortal name.
Yeah.
So they go to the castle pretending to be, fiancéed. She meets the king and, oh, that's my dad. But he's supposed to be crazy, psycho, whatever. And she's still looking for her mom. Now she knows her mom's at the castle, but she hasn't seen her. Still doesn't know where Draven's at. She meets her dad. She's like, oh, but he's crazy. Okay. So he asks her to dinner. She goes to dinner that night and she meets, I hate this name, Kaylin? It's Kalon. Y'all tell me what you think. I think it's Kaylin. She says it Callan. You say Callan too?
Callan.
Okay, so it's Callan. I'm completely wrong. I'm not surprised. So she meets Callan, who is her uncle, and also the person after her, and he knows her mortal name because she's still mortal.
Because he wants the throne.
Right. Well, I mean,
yes,
everybody wants the throne. That's just the power struggle. But
always a game of mine bigger than yours.
She uses her empathic ability against him, and he uses it back. So she knows that even if you're a vampire, you still have that ability.
And immediately she knew. She knew that he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we're going to fast forward to in the book a little bit because this happens, that happens. They plot. Things are happening. Really cool. Yes. She meets her mom. Woo! And then we get to the night of the ball because now an immortal princess. Oh, come on. Okay, fine.
Well, you can't just gloss over that shit. She meets her mom, but her mom's a vampire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is that big thing.
Yeah, her and her mom.
It's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, I forgot that one. Yeah, her mom's a vampire now, so she's no longer a sorceress, but
It's
she's still a
not
badass.
Cool mom in latex no more. It's cool mom in fucking vampire garb.
How do you know mom's not wearing latex?
Because it doesn't, like, it says she's dressed different. She might be underneath. Good for her.
I was going to say, she might be underneath. Okay, so she meets her mom. Moving forward. So now they have a plan to kill this princess because if this princess dies, it's going to start a war and it'll make the dad.
They're trying to peg it on Kaylin.
Yeah. So it'll make Sargon believe that his brother Callan is a traitor to the throne. Callan, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Kaylin.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. So
the uncle.
The brother.
And the reason I'm fast forwarding to this point is because she, for the first time, uses her powers for something other than breaking a glass or creating a whirlpool.
Is this after? This is after they figure out.
This is after this smut. And I'm just gonna. That's what I was gonna stop there and backtrack a little bit because that's the point is like where she uses her power. So she does get to use her power. She does get to attach them. But we have to go to a commercial.
That's after.
I know.
We find out who she is, though, right?
We already found out who she was.
Okay. All right. Commercial.
3 minutes behind, girl. It's okay. We love you.
It's me. Okay. Come on.
Let's watch some crazy stuff, yo!
An innocent romp in the woods turns into a hellish nightmare when an evil force is accidentally awakened.
Hey, wait a minute, Rick. I thought this was a commercial. What's going on? I mean,
Relax, Morty. Don't worry about it. Let's just see
Action
where this
International
goes.
Pictures presents
Oh
the
my
gruesome
God, it's
holiday
still the
shocker.
commercial.
Elves. They're not working for Santa anymore.
Rick, oh my God! Some really
update,
hardcore
we're-
stuff. What in the hell?
Chronic Sports tomorrow night. Buzzkill on Thursday. They're watching Elves.
It's gonna be intense.
Is it?
Not really. The movie's terrible, but we'll talk about it on Thursday.
We'll talk about it on Thursday. So before we can get to her using her abilities, because it's like, she has an oh moment, and we must talk about the oh moment because it is the only smutty moment. And it's not even smutty moment.
It's foreplay.
Okay. It's the only.
It's foreplay.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's all it was.
It's better than nothing.
This is true. And I mean,
Because I was like, are we really about to get through this whole book and there not be one single like semi?
right? I was
worried.
I was worried too. So the way the ballroom is set up, they have little tents around so that the vampires can eat on their mortals in privacy should they want to, although they never do. They just hey baby, come here, I'm gonna take a bite out of you right here on the dance floor wherever the fuck I want to. It's cool. But
No class at all.
no class at all. What was that?
Poor form.
Poor form.
Poor form.
Poor form. So Vader woman, whatever.
Gwen is one of them. Gwen.
We're getting to Gwen. So Velda, Vader, whatever her name is, the woman that turned Sebastian into a vampire, shows up with her daughter, who has a massive crush on Sebastian, and Aster, who is now with Gwen, the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the mom, the head of the Nightshade, is of course glaring daggers at Olivia because Olivia's with Sebastian and she considers Sebastian her property because she's a bitch that way. But at some point, this happens, that happens. She comes over and shows her ass. Olivia's like, "Fuck you, he's mine now." Toddle along, and then they start dancing and this happens there and that happens that way. And you know how that goes. And he takes her into the tent. Well, something gets eaten, that's for sure. But not like that. He takes her into the tent and apparently he's really good with his hands. And everybody can see because these curtains are like super
They
thin.
were literally doing it so they could see.
Yep, they were exactly so they could be seen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what? Yeah, exactly. So
The only reason.
that is the sex of the book. Whoa.
That's it.
Yeah, ta-da.
Oh, that's you do the ta-da.
It is, honestly, guys, it is a really, really good book. The smut portion of it's just a little disappointing in this first book. I'm hoping it, builds more for the second. We'll see. I'm gonna read the next book. But so she uses her power. Okay. So her uncle has already, pulled her aside, kind of, like, "Hey, we're gonna have a conversation. I know your mom is planning on sneaking you out of here with Draven. You should go. Or I'll tell your dad, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Yeah, F you, I'm not going anywhere." And then she goes and finds Sebastian, who is upstairs cleaning off blood because somebody spilt some on him, not on accident, by the way. And then they come back down and they're looking for Draven. And he goes back up after the sex scene. He goes back up to find Draven. And her uncle comes over and he grabs her arm and he's like pulling on her and he's like, come on, it's the final countdown. Midnight, he's like dragging her along and he's got claws, kind of like these, big claws. And he's dragging her along and she's like, let me go, let me go, let me go. And he won't. So she kind of turns her and she gets away from him somehow. I don't remember how. She does it. She gets away from him and she grabs her hands around his head and she sparks him on fire.
All right. What comment are we talking about, Tracy? I missed one. What did I miss? Is it the "there's always room for latex" comment? Because I just spotted that and that was pretty good. Let me know. What comment are we talking about?
That's probably the one.
Because even Lindsay said she'd being slow.
I eat sandwiches. Sure you do, Jen. Sure you do.
Oh, she eats something in her tent. Okay. I saw that comment. Okay.
We know about your tent. We ain't going to talk about your tent, Tracy. So, she catches him on fire. Her dad comes down and stops her. The Velda Vader, whatever, I can't ever remember her name because she just irritated me so much, comes over and is kneeling down next to Callan. And then all of a sudden you hear a piercing scream. Ah! And they go rushing to find out what that was. And it's the mortal princess now laying a broken mess at the bottom of the stairs. Now our heroine knows that there is vampire blood in her body, but she starts to second guess. And then the vampire nightshade people come over and they taste her blood, which, come on, it's on the ground. I understand the 5-second rule, but ew. Okay. 5 seconds, not 5 minutes. I don't know how long that blood's been there. It's ew. Okay. And so they say, she has vampire blood in her. And then all of a sudden she's alive. Now, I don't know how her body knitted back together that fast, but whatever. And they ask her, who did this to you? And she says, Sebastian pushed me off the stairs. And of course, then there's a big battle and they are arrested and taken to prison. Is that the end of the book? No, it is not.
No. That's when you find out they got a thing for each other.
They got a thing for each other. Yes, they
finally admit it.
They do.
Definitely thought you said they had a fang for each other.
Kitty, like F-A-N-G. Oh, no, she's a fang.
That would have been a dad joke. Something I probably would have said. But no, that is not what I said.
She asks him to give him her blood because he's got a bunch of, his
she wants him to turn her.
Right. So if he
they're
bites
starving
her,
him to death in this prison cell.
Exactly. So if he bites her, he puts venom in, but he could also kill her, and he's got poison in his body. But if he bites her, she'll have the venom. So then he can give her his blood with the poison in it. It doesn't matter because if she wants to die anyway. So he feeds her to, kind of whatever, kill her. She comes back to life. She's now a new vampire and can bust them out and haul. And he goes, yeah, I'll do that. Get some sleep. And she falls asleep.
I want you to know that our comments are on fire tonight. Y'all are on another.
I know
they are right.
Another level.
People,
you guys are on
now, the other piece of that, though.
So then she wakes up alive.
Wait.
Calm down there, Emerald.
Let me talk.
Okay, Nixie, what's up?
The other piece of that, though, is that the whole time that she's trying to convince him to turn her, he's trying to convince her to give herself up and to claim her spot as the princess, because he knows that if she claims that spot, her dad's gonna exonerate her.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's not gonna press the charges, and then she'll survive.
Yep.
But she also didn't want to be a vampire.
Right.
So this is one of the reasons I wanted to wait until now to read one of my favorite lines. And it is earlier in my favorite quotes. It is way earlier in the book. but it kind of explains it kind of explains Sebastian a little bit to where you'll understand his mind frame, like, you know, save yourself, that type of stuff, kind of to me. So he says to her, when you release control, no one can force your hand. I realized a long time ago I couldn't force the will of the world, and in that I found faith. I realized I could do anything, be anything, and I decided anything that happened to me was meant to be. I believe with everything I am that I am going to make it out of this alive with some shred of happiness, and that belief made me more powerful than I could ever have imagined.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites too.
Now, it happens way earlier in the book. It's on like 290, page 295. It's way earlier in the book. But that kind of explains him throughout, you know, like he 100% wants his mortality so that he can die.
Right.
Like
It's
that's his goal.
182. Page
He wants his
182.
mortality so he can die. But that he's one of those guys of it's what's going to happen is going to happen. So he wants her to turn herself in, and you know what? If I die, I die. It's fine. I'm going to die one way or the other. I just prefer to die as a mortal so I can see my family. But I want you to live. But she does live, and her father now knows who she is and says, you're going to become a vampire on such and such a night. You are going to be shadow kissed, again, the name of the book, and you have to choose your husband. I'm going to give you a list. And she says, don't bother. I want Sebastian.
Yep. But she knows that by saying that, she is basically dooming him from being able to become mortal, but she's preventing him from living a life of torture, because he told her that while he would spare his life, he called off the execution of Sebastian, that he and the other vampires that were caught with them are going to have their wings removed, and they would serve as slaves within the castle walls.
Yep.
So
and who knows what's happening to poor Anna, the mortal. We still don't know what's happening to Anna at this point, but we are at the end of the book. So she, you know, lifts her head high, and this is when she finally decides, you know what? I don't need anybody to save me. I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to save myself. I'm going to save Sebastian. I'm going to save Zach. I'm going to save, you know, Ariana. I'm going to save Anna. I'm going to save everybody. And she walks out with her head held high, and she's like, fuck everybody. And that kind of ends the book.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Yep.
Which is a cliffhanger, and I hate them, but whatever.
Well, we got 3 other books to get through, girlfriend.
Right.
Nixie, while we still have a few minutes, do you have anything else you want to say? You have a favorite quote?
My favorite line in the book was when they were doing the sexy scene, and she goes, "Oh gods," and he goes, "No, I'm just a vampire." That was my best line in the book.
Best line. Yeah, that was a good one.
The one-liners are always the best.
The one-liners, yep.
I have 2. It's basically in the same. It's one page after the other. They kind of go together. It's Sebastian talking, and she's, you know, being her old little emo self. And he's like, don't go there. And he's like, I know how you feel and the pain that won't go away, but I promise you, life is so much more than the way you feel right now. And then he says, so be angry, scream at the sky, and cry yourself to sleep, but don't you dare wish for death. Not yet. Not when there's a world of wonder out there for your soul to experience. And I was like,
yep.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, that concludes book 1, Shadow Kissed. We will
does.
be back on Tuesday next week to discuss book 2.
Midnight Crown. Shit's about to get real.
I know.
Real.
Forward to reading it.
Same smut time. Same smut channel.
You don't have to buy the next one. They're all free, J-Lo.
Yeah, that's one of the things we set forth is that all of the books that we read will be free because we some broke bitches and we know that all of our readers, are kind of in the same. So we do the cheap version, exactly the cheap version, and we do everything free
You
on.
can't compare that to Interview with a Vampire. How can you compare anything to Lestat?
This is true. This is not like no, J-Lo.
All right. Anyway, good night, ladies.
Find you and we'll talk later because no, girl. Bye, guys. Mwah. See you next week.
Bye, y'all. See you next week.